Hello and welcome to our social media marketing updates for June 2024. As usual, we've got a jam-packed session for you today, and we've got 10 key updates in the world of social media marketing to cover. I'm going to be talking about a brand new app which has been launched by TikTok. We're going to be discussing some LinkedIn premium subscriptions for company pages. As usual, there's lots of updates going on with Instagram, including tests for non-skippable ads and also text overlays on carousels. I'm going to be telling you about the latest happenings on Threads, including an API update, which means we can now schedule content there, and also a new layout for desktop. And among that, we're also going to be talking about X and the fact that they are redesigning their analytics program at last, but it's likely this will be just for paid users of X. As well as that, I've got some great examples to show you on TikTok and LinkedIn, so let's get stuck in. So a little bit of an introduction to myself. My name is Alison. I've been writing strategies for companies for over 15 years in social media. And so whether that's a hospitality business or an educational business or a charity, I put together social media strategies on how these organizations should be approaching the platforms, content, what growth tactics they should be using, and how to measure success as well. We also offer training at Avocado Social, so I run online and in-person training sessions. And also we offer ongoing consultancy for many of our clients where we'll do a monthly check-in to see how they are finding everything in social media, approach any key challenges. I'm getting a lot of questions about YouTube at the moment. YouTube seems to be a big new focus for businesses who have maybe been using it as a video depository for many years, but have suddenly realized it's actually got huge potential. So this is me. Avocado Social is our business. It's 10 years old, and I run the business alongside Richard, my husband. And so that's pretty much it. I think most of the people who are going to join us today are here. We've got 50 people today, which is great. Just to let you know, we are recording the session and we will be sharing the recording with you. So you don't need to worry about taking a ton of notes. We will be putting that on YouTube as well. So you can always catch up on previous months' updates as well. So I have put together a list of the main updates that I'm going to be covering today. We're going to start with a brand new TikTok app that was announced just 2 days ago. I'm going to give you a bit of an update to do with notes because that is a key focus for a lot of the platforms at the moment. And if you don't understand what notes is, don't worry, I'm going to explain. We'll be discussing premium LinkedIn company pages, the Threads API, and a new overview of how that feed looks on desktop, some Instagram red flags to be aware of, Instagram's non-skippable ads, text overlay, and then we'll be moving on to X, looking at some analytics and how they are planning to refresh that platform. I also have a few stats to share with you regarding Pinterest attention. And finally, a couple of updates to do with alcohol and how the main platforms are approaching advertising, particularly to young people. So a few stats and interesting points to share with you there. Right, I think we're ready to get started then. So let's get straight into it. Just this week, TikTok has announced a brand new app, which they are testing. So it's not available in the UK yet, but this app has quite an interesting name. It's called We. Sounds a bit like a Taylor Swift song, right? So the app called We is explicitly being positioned as a photo sharing app, and it's meant to be for sharing with friends only. So interesting to see how TikTok is launching an app that is meant to be used by your close circle. The idea behind it is that you capture and share real life photos that only your friends can see. And the idea behind it is that you can be your most authentic self. So this is really targeting Gen Z, as they are the ones that are most concerned about representing themselves online in a very authentic fashion. We is the place to share with close friends your real life moments. So I'm not sure how I feel about that description, whether I'd like to be sharing pictures of me stacking the dishwasher. But this does remind me a little bit of the sentiment behind Be Real, which has recently been sold as a social media platform. Here's some screenshots of the app, which have been emerging in some of the countries where this is being tested. It's available in Canada, in Australia, not available in the US or the UK at the moment. This is very much a test bed for TikTok, who are looking to develop an Instagram competitor that might be of interest to those younger markets. Interestingly, you do need a TikTok account to download it, to log in. There's no option to sign up directly using the app itself, so you have to do it via a TikTok profile. Does that remind you a little bit of something? That's exactly how Instagram launched Threads 2 years ago. And also, the other thing that people have been noting is the logo there looks interestingly familiar, a little bit like Threads. So it is very common for the social media platforms to simply be copying each other, and that is what we tend to see a lot of. So I will certainly keep you updated on We. I don't think it's anything to be overly concerned with at the moment in terms of a social media management perspective, but it's good to know where these big giant social media platforms focuses are right now. And it certainly seems like they are approaching the younger markets. They're trying to keep those markets engaged. And also, they're looking for ways to capitalize on a more intimate social media experience where you're sharing content with a very close circle of friends. The next update we have for you is all around notes. Now, I've got to admit, I myself have been getting a little bit confused about the notes features that are starting to launch within the platforms. Back in April, you may remember that I announced that TikTok was launching a brand new app. This is a standalone app called TikTok Notes. It is rolling out at the moment. It's only available in Australia and Canada. So again, not the US, not the UK. It is essentially your opportunity to share photo and longer text updates with a wider audience. So this is something that they are trialing. It looks a little bit bloggy. It looks like creators would be able to create some fantastic kind of travel content or review content on TikTok Notes. So that is being tested at the moment. You can upload 35 pictures into one post. So it certainly seems like a nice place to be able to put things like holiday snaps or food recommendations. And it's just interesting to see ByteDance, which is TikTok's parent company, just testing out lots of different new apps at the moment so that they can retain this large share of the Gen Z attention. Over on Instagram, they've been rolling out notes since December last year. And some of you may have this already, some of you might not have it at all. I have it on 2 out of 5 accounts that I am in charge of. And it is described as a new way to share your thoughts and see what your friends are up to. So it's essentially harking back to those days of MSN Messenger, for those of you that remember, where you used to have a bit of a status or a kind of current mood that would explain what you're up to or how you're feeling. I think it's interesting to note that this is available for both business, so professional, and personal and creator accounts. So it's not mutually exclusive just to creators, which seems to be the way that they do launch new features at the moment. Businesses can use it if you have it on your professional account, and it could be a way to prompt somebody that there's a new sale on, or a new product or sample sale happening right now, or just to share a little bit more personality. When you log into your DM area, you'll be able to see notes right at the top. You'll see some profile pictures of the accounts that are using notes, and you'll be able to see that status over their face as well. So it's interesting that Instagram is putting a lot of focus on this DM area. For those of you that have maybe followed the last few updates that we've done, we've been speaking a lot about the focus of direct messaging for Instagram. Adam Mosseri, the CEO of Instagram, has said a number of times now that in DMs is where they see the most engagement. That's where the most people are sharing content, having conversations. That's where they're most active. So it makes sense that Instagram is rolling out new features to engage those, mainly using DM. I thought this was an interesting update from a tech reporter called Leah Haberman, who you can follow on both Threads and X. And she said that Instagram Notes is central to the app's messaging future. It's all part of Instagram's beefing up of its DM portal, which has become a hub for young users and is where the bulk of short form videos and even photos are being shared on the app. So, really interesting to see this shift towards private, intimate conversations, one on one or one to a few rather than one to many. And that is thought to be the future of social media. What does that mean for businesses? Well, it certainly means that you should be intentional about your direct messaging approach, making sure that you are responding to people regularly, you're acknowledging when you do receive DMs from stories or from reels. Perhaps it's the case of starting to initiate more conversation via DM to certain partners, stakeholders, influencers, even customers. And also really thinking about that DM experience that somebody has when they message your brand. Do they receive something automated? Does that make sense? Does it feel right in the experience that you're trying to create? Are they getting responses in a timely fashion? So do they actually receive responses quickly enough as well? So really important to just be aware of your current approach to DMs. Okay, what about premium company LinkedIn pages? LinkedIn is officially rolling out its version of these premium subscription services. Now, we've seen this from X, we've seen it from Meta, which we were talking about last month, and now we're seeing it from LinkedIn. This is essentially a paid for subscription, which your business can talk about, your business can subscribe to, sorry. And it basically offers some more premium features. So you can help to basically stand out a little more on LinkedIn. Now, this has been rolling out. They've been testing it for a few months, but it is now, according to LinkedIn, a worldwide offering. I'm going to tell you the price in just a moment. I wonder if anyone can make any guesses. But this gives you access to certain features that are currently only available through Premium. If you want to see some examples of businesses that are currently using it, obviously the best one to go to is LinkedIn. So looking at LinkedIn's company page, they have 27 million followers. They've got over 10,000 employees on the platform. They have this testimonial right at the top of their feed, which is highlighted. You can also see who's given that testimonial. They've got a couple of call to action buttons on their profile. They've got the brown premium logo over on the right-hand side. So already the profile looks, a little bit more special compared to others. The other features that you have is seeing exactly who's visited your page each week. So that might be useful for better lead generation. That custom testimonial. You can also highlight unique strengths about your business, including awards, certifications, rankings, news features, and other notable highlights. You also can auto invite people who've been engaging with your page to follow your page. I think for me, that is the most interesting there. So you can invite first degree connections to follow. Sorry, you can invite people who have basically been engaging with your content. So they may have liked a post, commented on a post, shared a post, but they might not already be following you. So that will send an auto invite across to them. There's also some AI powered post writing assistance. Obviously, LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft, and Microsoft have the best AI in the world. So you will see some great options there. They are stating that premium businesses are going to get 13 times more profile views on average than standard businesses. So definitely an incentive there. Let me tell you the cost. So at present, LinkedIn's premium business subscription begins at a price point of $99 per month. So it's not cheap. You will get a little bit more discount if you pay annually. And this is rolling out before the end of July. So if you do get a lot of leads through LinkedIn, or you're looking to get more through LinkedIn and your company page is your priority page, then it certainly could be something to consider or maybe test once it's live by the end of July. So Threads has been going through some big updates lately. I've actually been spending a little bit more time on Threads recently and have been really enjoying the platform. I think one of the things I like the most about it is that there aren't really any rules at the moment. So you can kind of post as much as you like or as little as you like. And there's no really rhyme or reason yet in terms of how the algorithm works. People are just kind of seeing content that the Threads algorithm feels is most interesting to them. So I've just been throwing up quite a bit of content on there to see what works. And at the moment, it's more of the conversational or musings type content that seems to be working best for myself. So just this week, Adam Mosserai, who I would recommend following, he announced the Threads API is launching. This basically means that you can now use your favorite third-party apps, so your Sprinklers, your Sprout Socials, your Laters, to publish posts, reply to others, see insights, and more. They are hoping that lots of developers are going to build some pretty cool Threads programs using the API. And I've certainly seen a lot of the scheduling tools already promoting the fact that you can now schedule using those tools. So I think that's a really interesting one. It should basically ensure that people are posting there more consistently. And I'd imagine that a lot of businesses are now going to approach Threads by perhaps reskinning or re-editing some content that they're already putting elsewhere. My advice would be just try a few things out, see what works. You can post images, you can post polls, you can post GIFs, or you can just do a regular text update on there. And so far, it's the regular text updates that are also performing best for me. So maybe the more simple, the better it will perform. The other announcement that came a couple of weeks ago from Threads was that they are now rolling out this desktop site redesign. For those of you that have been in the social media marketing game for a while, you'll recognize this as TweetDeck or maybe an early Hootsuite, where you can actually arrange columns based on what you would like to see. So using the plus button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen there, you can start to build your ideal Threads overview. You can choose which feeds you want to see, deciding between your following feed, who you're following, your own feed, your For You feed, which is, of course, content that's recommended to you, saved posts, recent notifications, or even searches for specific things. So they're really making the desktop tool a lot easier to navigate. And it's also still quite minimalist. It reminds me of early days Twitter. So I would definitely recommend spending a bit of time to get your desktop version of Threads set up in the way that's most useful to you. So let's talk a little bit about Instagram red flags. I think the question that goes around a lot, and I get asked a lot, is, why has my engagement gone down? My engagement isn't performing at the level it once was. Why is this? That is something that regularly gets asked in training sessions as well. And commonly, there's two main things that people do need to consider. The first is, of course, your content. So just always making sure that your content is on point, that your content is relevant to the audiences that you're trying to target, and that your content adheres to what the modern social media user wants to see as well, which is, engaging, interesting, funny, valuable content. The second reason why your engagement may be dipping is because you may be perhaps using some of these techniques which can hurt your distribution. So, this is a slide that was recently shared at an Instagram session at HQ for creators. And they, as you can see here, have listed what can help your distribution and what can hurt your distribution. So, let's take a look at each of these points. The first is that driving authentic engagement works the best. So when people actually comment thoughtful responses onto your posts or share your posts authentically with friends or colleagues in DMs, that can really help with your reach. Engagement bait, where you're asking someone to specifically comment a word or comment an emoji or fill in a blank, can potentially hurt your distribution. Now, this does throw up the question of ManyChat, which many social media managers are using. ManyChat is a tool that you can use, paid for, which allows Instagram to send direct messages to people that have commented a specific word on your post. As far as I can see, these posts seem to still be performing well, but they don't necessarily get shown in the Explore feed or in the Reels feed because Instagram essentially doesn't really like them. So if you've got good engagement anyway and you are using ManyChat, then I wouldn't necessarily advise stopping to use it. But if you're considering using it as a way to grow your reach, I don't think it's going to work for that particular objective. Consider when your audience is online. This is a really important point. Your audience might be online at different points throughout the day, so it is worthwhile trying out different times and seeing what sticks rather than sticking to the same 6 p.m. That's when I'm going to schedule my content all the time. For example, I've recently seen some success with very early morning posts or very late at night posts. That could be when the competition is a little less fierce in the feeds as well. So your post has more of a chance of cutting through. What can hurt distribution? Instagram is saying that reels over 90 seconds long won't appear in the Explore feed, therefore could potentially hurt your reach. So keeping it under 90 seconds long is recommended. The other thing that they do like to see is using high resolution on your videos. So trying to upload in the highest possible format, highest quality. But they don't like videos with third-party watermarks. So they basically don't like videos with TikTok logos on them. So if you are cross-posting TikToks over to Reels, the best thing to do is just before you hit post on TikTok, you can actually download a video or screen record it, and that should remove the watermarks. Finally, they've said it can help if you post your content on Instagram at the same time as you are doing on other platforms. I'm not sure about that one. I haven't tested it out yet, so I can't report back. What can hurt distribution is posting content that you didn't make. So reposting content. Now, if you are reposting UGC, you can do that using collaborative posts, and that shouldn't affect your overall reach because Instagram loves collaborative posts. But if you are reposting somebody else's content and you're simply just tagging them in the caption, that can potentially hurt distribution since the algorithm changed last month. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an overview as to what is working, what's not working in the current Instagram feeds. And as always, this stuff is always changing. So this slide was doing the rounds back in May. I will, of course, let you know if I see any other updates from Instagram HQ in the meantime. So sticking with Instagram then, let's now talk about Instagram non-skippable ads. This is a feature that is in testing at the moment. It is according to various reports that I've seen, including this example from Dan Levy, who's a photographer, that Instagram is testing out a new video ad format that does stop users from scrolling in the main feed of the app until they've viewed a video. Very much in the YouTube field of thinking here, when you've got a video that you have to watch, you can't skip it. And once you've watched that video, you can then continue browsing. So this is called an ad break. This is being tested at the moment with Instagram. I'd imagine it's not very popular. I've seen some very negative comments about this in terms of how it might ruin Instagram. But we shall see. I guess from a marketing perspective, it's very interesting that you might be able to make somebody watch a 60-second video or a 30-second video until that timer has run down. So we shall see about that one. Instagram text overlay is another test that is currently doing the rounds. I've seen this one being used on carousels only. This is something that they are only launching with creators right now. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like businesses can use this one yet, but useful just to be aware of that this could be coming. So when you're uploading a carousel, you can see there is a little text button in the top right-hand side that will now allow you to add text on top of your carousel slides. So as I said, this is only available at the moment for creators. It is in test mode, but this could be really useful for things like explainers, for how-to guides, recipes, beauty, step-by-step. And it just essentially means that you don't have to use a third-party tool like Canva in order to do that. I guess the limitations there are you're only going to be able to use Instagram's only text. There's only like, 10 fonts that you can use. So if you wanted something to look a little bit more branded, then you would need to use Canva. But hey, we all love Canva, so there's no issue with that. As I mentioned, X is actually finally working on some new analytics. So this is some previews that have been doing the rounds, shared by X Daily News, which is an X account all about X. As you can see here, the new analytics tabs look really useful, actually. I like the layout, very much in line with the new kind of simplified, slick black background X experience. Twitter, back when it was Twitter, did actually remove the basic metrics back in 2020 now. So it's a good 4 years we haven't had any in-platform analytics from Twitter, or now X. But this looks like it is being relaunched this year. They will be also including some data about audiences, which they haven't done for a long time now. Do you want the bad news? It does look like this will be a feature for X Premium users only. So you will need to be subscribed as a Premium X user in order to see these analytics. Musk has publicly said that he wants the subscription part of X to be 50% of the revenue of X. Currently, it's just 0.5%. So it looks like any new interesting new features that are coming on X are going to be premium users only. What does this mean about the future of X? This is again a question I'm being asked all the time. My prediction is that it will become a very niche platform, only used for specific conversations, politics, football, um, television. I think it will be harder for businesses to gain maximum reach, particularly compared to other platforms like LinkedIn or YouTube. So I do see the focus of X kind of, waning over the years. I have spoken about this before on these updates. And of course, there is, always one or two of you that say, actually, it still works really well for us. So I'm sure that will be the case. But I personally wouldn't be paying for X. So I'm not sure about how well it will survive in the future. If you are really thinking, do we bother with X? Do we not? One of the key things I've been working with on clients this year is actually figuring out how long you're spending on the platform each month, and then figuring out what you're getting back from the platform, what that return is. Are you still getting good engagement? Are you getting web traffic? Are you getting good impressions? What's the platform doing for you? And that should help you to figure out whether or not it's worth being on. Okay, what about Pinterest? I feel like we never really talk about Pinterest. I'm not really doing a huge amount on Pinterest for any of my clients right now, but I know that it is such a valuable tool for e-commerce businesses. There's a lot of ads being run on Pinterest because it can be such a great way to drive direct sales from the platform. Here's a quick look at my home feed. Recently redesigned my bathroom, of course, in green. But I always find the home feed is spot on with my interests, with the sorts of businesses that I would purchase from or have purchased from in the past. So they do a really good job of creating a great, engaging feed for you based on so much of their data points, like web traffic, what websites you're browsing, what you've been searching for, what you've previously purchased, etc. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about Pinterest is because they've just released a brand new study. I'm actually going to share the link to the study in the chat right now. But the study has basically found that Pinterest users give 170% more total attention to Pinterest compared to other platforms. So this is a really interesting stat. They're very successful at driving attention. They get 7.3 times more passive attention than other platforms, and a 1.5 times slower scroll past ads on Pinterest. So people are definitely much more intentional on Pinterest. They're looking for something. They're in that mindset potentially of purchasing. They are paying attention to adverts, particularly adverts that have video as part of them. So active attention strategies. If you want to get active attention, including bold formats such as video can work incredibly well. But if you are looking to get, more brand awareness on them or passive attention, then strategies include using subtle formats such as static images that are those longer images. So if you look on my home feed, it's definitely the more portrait or vertical images that I'm drawn to, as opposed to landscape or square. So that is a big thing to focus on. Minimal text, but sometimes text overlays can be useful. And of course, we very much want to see the lifestyle images there, the ones that are, most engaging to us. And ideally ones that look, less like an advert and more just like a genuine thing that you would pin. Backgrounds as well, really important. So colored backgrounds or, marble or wood backgrounds as opposed to just blank white backgrounds. So do take a look at that report. They do talk a little bit more about that breakdown of passive attention versus active attention. What you should be using in terms of keeping your brand top of mind versus what you should be using to try and drive those website traffic, users and sales. So if you're interested in Pinterest, definitely take a look at that new report. So my final update for you today, and then I've just got a couple of examples to share, as I usually do, is around alcohol advertisers. So if you are working for a hospitality business, a pub, a restaurant, a hotel, a cafe, restaurant, and you are promoting alcohol, or maybe even you're a drinks company, then it's really important to be aware of the fact that there are probably going to be some new restrictions on alcohol related marketing to underage users happening across the platforms. This is specifically relating to ads, so any paid for promotions. Google, Meta, Pinterest, Snap, TikTok, and X have all partnered with leading drinks companies to agree responsible online alcohol advertising standards. So there are already some restrictions in place across the platforms, but recent research from the Global Center of Preventative Health and Nutrition has found that young people aged 14 to 17 are being served at least 6 alcohol ads every single day that they're online. One young person in particular in the study was served 14 alcohol ads, 2 gambling ads, and 70 junk food ads in just 2 hours. That is incredibly worrying, especially when it comes to online safety. So it was thought that Snap, TikTok, and X were the worst offenders there. But of course, all of the platforms are really looking again at their own standards and their own community guidelines. I had a little play around in Facebook ads last night to see whether it was possible to run adverts specifically around alcohol to audiences as young as 13. I was seeing restrictions in place. So if you're targeting anyone under the age of 18 here in the UK, you cannot be specific about the interests and behaviors. And actually, that is global. So globally, if you're targeting anyone under the age of 18 on Meta, you can't specifically include any interests or behaviors. But that doesn't mean that you couldn't run the ad anyway and just hope that people would see that particular ad. So that is something quite worrying. The other thing that I did know is as soon as people hit 18, you can certainly target them with alcohol or beverage related ads. So I know that is the legal age here in the UK, but you could argue that 18 to 21 is still a very impressionable age. And it is worrying that you would be able to target alcohol, gambling, weight loss ads to these particular audiences. So I think we're likely to see more effective age affirmation mechanisms where people have to really prove their age using maybe some identity check. I think we need to see improved transparency from organizations about who they're targeting, what they're doing with these ads. Stronger user-generated content policies as well. So where brands are sharing content from, pub goers or their, bottomless brunch audiences, I think we need to see some more legislation around what's available, what's allowed to be done, and more responsible drinking messages within all of the social platforms as well. So if you are in that field of alcohol advertising, then I do think just spreading your bets slightly between how much focus you are putting on the social platforms would be wise at this point, because although they can be very effective, actually advertising the alcohol product itself probably isn't going to be allowed for too much longer. So you'd have to think more around the experience, the fun that your venue can provide, or focus on other elements like the food offering, the music offering, etc. Okay, so we are going to open the floor to Q&A now. So if you've got a question for me, I can see that there were some questions a little earlier on. I think Richard has been answering a couple as we've been going through, but do feel free to ask. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes just to get those questions in on chat. But in the meantime, I'm going to show you two examples of content I saw or have seen recently that I've just really loved. I like doing this. I like sharing some good examples of social media. So the first one is from SEMrush, which is a social media scheduling and insights tool. Not just social media, you can, of course, do all kinds of digital marketing with the platform. And they have been really focusing on their TikTok channel recently, getting millions of views on some parody content about working in digital marketing. And I particularly liked this example they posted this week.
How long are those video events going to take?
Like 2 minutes.
6 hours later.
What's the client budget for this campaign?
They're going to give us $50,000.
Hey, how much creative freedom do you have on the brand account?
Oh, loads. We're going to be so unhinged.
How many people are going to be in your TikTok today?
Oh my God, the whole office is going to be on board.
So you might find that a little too relatable, a little too close to home, but that's exactly what SEMrush on TikTok are trying to do there. So do give them a follow if you're looking at creating more relatable content and more kind of behind the scenes of what it's like working for a business style content, which is working so well on TikTok right now. The other update I saw was actually a job ad. So if you're interested, if you're looking for a new social media manager role, this is Monzo Bank. The social media manager at Monzo is brilliant on LinkedIn, very honest, great tone of voice. And this was a job ad like no other I'd seen before. So it starts with a picture of a dog, obviously. And then I just really liked the description he'd posted there, particularly generally helping us to figure out what the hell Adam Moserai wants from us. So definitely worth taking a look at that if you are hiring and you want some insight, or whether you're actually looking for a new role yourself.